disordered eating, which of course bleeds nicely into eating disorders. Deirdre was only in high school when she was on the swim team. She started finding herself becoming increasingly concerned and obsessed with weight. It was like the skinnier she was, the more popular she was. All the popular girls in her school were thin. There was one particular time that just pushed her over the edge. It was very subtle. She was at swim practice, and one of the guys there just put his hand, wrapped it around his arm, and his fingers were able to touch. And then he reached over to her arm and wrapped his hand around her arm, and his fingers were not able to touch. He didn't say anything, but that was enough to push Deirdre to start becoming very intense about dieting. And so Deirdre stopped eating lunch. Eventually, she would start skipping dinner, but she did not stop her physical activities. So she was running track, she was swimming, constantly burning calories, and it was giving her good results. At first, she was losing weight, and everyone was telling her how great she looked. But eventually, this became very unhealthy. Deirdre didn't know anything about nutrition. She didn't understand how she was depleting herself and harming her body through not eating enough and burning too much. And eventually, she developed what was diagnosed as anorexia. Anorexia is restricting the amount of food that you eat to the point where it becomes disordered, becoming obsessed with losing weight and being thin. And so Deirdre suffered over the years and struggled with both restricting how much she ate. She eventually got into vomiting and eating too much at times. And after eating too much, feeling that she needed to vomit what she ate so that she wouldn't retain the food and end up getting fat. But Deirdre is really not alone. In fact, experts believe that some 98% of the population has some variation of disordered eating. Now, of course, disordered eating is on a spectrum of extremes. There is the anorexia, or varying levels on a spectrum of restricting what you eat. There's dieting, fad diets, crash diets. There's overeating, which is binging. And then there's overeating to the point where you feel that you need to vomit. And this can eventually be diagnosed as bulimia. Again, usually there's an obsession with how one looks, wanting to be thin, wanting to lose weight. So what can we do if we notice in ourselves that, like Deirdre, we're having a little bit of trouble with our eating? We're either finding ourselves eating too much, or find ourselves not eating enough, or we find ourselves yo-yoing back and forth between eating too much and then backing off and not eating anything, and then depriving ourselves, and then feeling like we've deprived ourselves, so we'll just have a little bit and then we end up spiraling back down and eating too much. What can we do if we feel like we don't have control? We're going to address today how to overcome disordered eating, and it will require us to adjust our mindset. For clinicians who are watching, when you're working with your clients, there are 3 basic realms of healing that you have to hit in order for the clients to be able to overcome their food addictions or their food avoidance. The 3 realms are beliefs, biases, and behavior. We're going to address those today. But I recommend everyone who's here to analyze your beliefs around food. When you were raised, Were you made to believe that it was very important to be thin? Were you made to believe that you had to eat everything that was on your plate? And if you didn't, then that was going to affect some kid in Africa? Were you made to believe that you should skip meals, or that food was scarce, and if you didn't get it right away, you wouldn't get any at all? Well, what are some of the beliefs that you've developed around food? Do you find yourself emotionally eating for emotion, eating for pleasure? You find yourself addicted to certain foods or addicted to eating in general? Analyze your beliefs around food. One of the biggest, most common disordered beliefs around food is that it's good to restrict food. Once again, one of the most common disordered beliefs is that it's good to restrict your food. In reality, research shows that the very thought of restricting food induces overeating. Now, that may seem counterintuitive, because it would seem that if we think of restricting food, that should help us to eat less. And maybe in the past, it's worked to a certain degree, like we were able to eat less because we thought about restricting our food. And so we said, you know what, I'm not going to have carbs. I'm not going to have sugar. I'm not going to eat chocolate. I'm not going to eat rice or bread, or there's something that we restricted. We said, I'm not going to eat that thing. But psychologically, it does something to us where when we don't eat something, it actually causes us to overeat. Now, why is that? When you put restrictions around food, it can create anxiety. And it puts too much emotional emphasis on food itself. Whereas, like breathing, food is just supposed to be freely enjoyed. It's supposed to be there every day to sustain you. It is a necessity to life. It is also enjoyable. It's okay to enjoy food. But you see, when we start creating the restrictions, we actually create anxiety around food. Now, with the anxiety, this can impair our decision making. So we can find ourselves eating around the food that we've restricted. So we say, okay, well, you know what, I can't have any dairy. But then because you're craving the dairy, because you're depriving yourself of the dairy, you start eating everything around the dairy. You don't eat the dairy, but you eat everything else that you can possibly eat. So you're eating dairy substitutes, and you want a little egg, and it's like, I have a taste for something, and it's like, I have a little candy. I'll just eat a little bit of this. I'll just have some dairy-free this. And the next thing you know, you're actually eating too much because you said that you were going to restrict this one food. And maybe you had some idea that this food is a bad food. If I eat this food, that's a bad food. So we start labeling foods. Well, those foods are bad, and these are good. These are good, healthy foods. And these foods are bad foods. And I'm bad if I eat these foods. And now we start getting into labeling ourselves and labeling the food. Does that sound like freely enjoying something? The way you can freely enjoy oxygen? We shouldn't create anxiety around something that's meant to be freely enjoyed. So the number one thing you can do if you want to get out of disordered eating is to change your belief system around eating. And so let go of an old belief that restricting foods and picking certain foods is good. Now, obviously, we may have dietary restrictions based on what we're allergic to or we have reactions to. That is different. But when we're just talking about doing this because we think it's going to be more healthy or help us to lose weight, restricting food can be detrimental to our psychology around food. So we need to cut that out. In a sense, we need to restrict our restricting. So what is the right belief system around food? What is the right mentality? When I was very young, I got into searching for wisdom, and I started reading the Bible when I was about 9, 10 years old in seriousness. And one of the principles that I love that's backed up by the Bible, it's an ancient principle. And the principle is moderation in everything, or everything in moderation. Jot this principle down because I found this principle to be very helpful in my viewpoints around food to avoid developing disordered eating. Everything in moderation or moderation in everything. The concept of moderation in everything or everything in moderation means that we don't need to put the restrictions on this specific thing or that specific thing, because that's not everything in moderation. That's only a couple things that we can have. And we're supposed to eat these in moderation, but you're not going to eat these in moderation when you're already restricting all the other things. So if instead you say, you know what, I can eat whatever I want, but everything in moderation, then you can go ahead and get the burger, the fries, the chips, whatever it is, the bread, even sugar. We can eat anything if instead of restricting it completely, we approach it in moderation. This principle is a belief that is adaptive and is helpful for life. Because in everyday life, it becomes very difficult to hold to adhere to standards that are too strict. And it starts to cause us sadness. And we start to beat up on ourselves if we're not adhering to these rules that we're making up. So I implore you, drop the dieting. Drop the dieting. The diets need to go. If you want to get out of disordered eating, stop putting specific restrictions on your foods. Oh, I'm on the Atkins or the keto or the this or the that or the such. There's always some new research and there's always some new diet, and everyone's always saying, this is the diet. My entire life, I have never known a time when there wasn't a diet that was being promoted as the diet that everyone has to do. And people are going crazy for this diet. And then menus are changing in restaurants over this diet. But then what happens to the diet 5, 6, 7, 8 years? What happened? I thought that was the diet that we had to do. Sometimes there's commercialism that's motivating the pushing of these fad diets. Stay away from them. If you can't do it forever, don't bother doing it at all. When it comes to your food, if you can't sustain it, then don't bother doing it. So rather than jumping into a diet where, okay, for 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 1 month, I'm going to restrict all of this, instead just say moderation in all things, because that you can sustain for the rest of your life. It is important that you lead your life in your conscious mind. Instead of your subconscious mind. We cannot, if we're in our subconscious mind, we become very emotional about food, very emotional about our eating. That's all linked to the subconscious, right? So throw away the diets, throw away point systems like Weight Watchers. So in other words, you can't watch your weight on your own. We'll watch your weight, or you got to use our point system. And without the point system, then you won't be able to. This isn't sustainable long term. Even if one of these fad diets or these specific programs can work for you for a little while, it's not sustainable long term. If you want your body to look good, if you want your body to be at its best, just remember that your body reflects your lifestyle. Period. Generally speaking, people's bodies reflect their lifestyles. There are minority cases where people have certain health conditions that have to be taken into consideration. But set those aside for a moment. Majority speaking, your body reflects your lifestyle. If you live an active lifestyle and you eat in moderation, your body will reflect it. So if you want your body to look like that, then live like that. Not for 2 weeks or 3 months, permanently. And in order to live a certain way permanently, then you must choose a course that you can sustain permanently. I much rather you slowly see a weight loss happen over a 3-month period of time that you can sustain for the rest of your life than to lose the same amount of weight in 2 weeks and then gain it back in 3 months. What good would that do? And that's what will happen. That's why they call them yo-yo diets, because it's like a pendulum. And when you get too restrictive and you pull back and you hold back and you hold back, and I'm not going to eat it, I'm not going to, there's another moment where the pendulum has to swing the other direction. And then you go, oh, food, finally. That's how we're built. You are designed to eat more food if you've been restricted, or to eat more now if you're going to be restricting. That's how we're designed. That's why we store fat. Fat is just stored up energy. So it's not a bad thing that our bodies store fat, but we need to understand it and work with wisdom, right? So we understand very simply when it comes to food that the food we eat brings us nutrients, brings us energy, and there's also some enjoyment in eating, right? Okay. Why would we eat more food than we're going to burn off? How is that wisdom? Help me. Why would you eat more food than you're going to burn off? Let's use wisdom. We got to get out of the subconscious eating and get into conscious mind eating, mindfulness. That means to pause and think. Wait a second. I sit in a desk all day. Why would I eat 3 big meals per day if all I do is sit in a desk? Tell me how that makes sense. You can only put in a car the gas that fits in the tank, right? Why your body, it's going to store what you eat to use it. But if you don't use it, then it's going to store it. So if you don't want extra fat on your body, then stop eating more than you're going to burn off. It's a very simple principle. Some of us have beliefs like we have to eat 3 meals a day, or some of us have beliefs we have to eat 5 meals a day or 6. That is a false belief. That is a false belief. A healthy person finds eating once or twice a day is plenty. And I can attest to this because my entire life, I have only eaten on average about 2 meals a day, and including right now. The only time I would eat more than 2 meals a day is if I was trying to gain weight, like if I'm lifting weights, I'm trying to gain weight, or if I'm involved in something extremely rigorous, some physical activity. So if you're a professional athlete, obviously this is different because you're working all the time. You need more energy, so you should eat more. If you're a professional athlete, of course. If you're involved in some rigorous physical work or activity, of course it makes sense to eat more then, of course. But analyze your situation. If you barely make it to the gym every other day, then why are you waking up in the morning? I have to eat a meal, and then it's 12 o'clock. I need to eat another meal. Oh my gosh, it's 6 o'clock. I have to eat another. Why would you eat based on time? Tell me how that would make sense. You eat based on time of the day? That's abuse. You're abusing your body. Your body is not a machine. Your body is a biological organism. So it talks to you. So if we're in our conscious mind, then we're going to slow down. We're going to listen to the body. When you wake up in the morning, make a connection to your body through meditation. This is conscious mind living. How do I feel? Feel good. Do I need to eat right now? Not really. I feel okay. And wake up, start your day, do what you got to do, get to work. Don't eat unless you're hungry. You may feel a little hungry. So you might say, you know what? I'm a little hungry. I'll have maybe like some yogurt, some granola. When you are hungry, ask yourself, what do I want to eat? Check in with the body. That's conscious mind living, right? We must meditate and check in with the body. And then when we open up the food and we go and we sit down to eat, the principles come in mind. Everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. So if you were raised like I was to believe that if I didn't eat my food, that was going to make the children who were already starving in Africa starve worse, let's do some analytical thinking here. How are the children in Africa going to be affected by whether or not I eat the food in front of me? They're not. And in most countries, they're probably not starving in Africa, but there are probably some people who are starving, but you eating your food has nothing to do with them. It will never reach them in time. There is so many miles and so much infrastructure you have to get through to get this food to them. It's not getting to them whether you don't eat your food or not. It's not getting to them. Also, it's difficult to waste food. Food is biodegradable. It's a part of the earth and nature. So this idea that, oh, I'm going to waste it, so I have to eat it all. No, you don't. You do not have to eat all your food. You know what's a waste? Putting it on your body as fat when you don't need it. That is wasting food. Switch your mindset. It's not wasting food to not eat the entire plate that a restaurant decided to put in front of you or your grandma put in front of you. That's not wasting food. You can just simply put the food back in the pot or put it in the refrigerator and just save it for later. It's not wasting anything. You can take it and throw it in the grass and animals will come and eat it and be well fed. Even if no animals ate it, the insects would eat it. Even if no insects would eat it, the ground would use it as fertilizer. It doesn't get wasted. It doesn't create waste. It's biodegradable. It's a beautiful thing. So let's think out some of these old ideas that we have. It's not a waste to set aside some of the food for later. It's actually avoiding wasting it. Putting it on yourself is wasting it. Understand? Tell your grandma that. Next time she forces you, are you going to eat? You don't like it? Why aren't you eating? It's like, because I don't want to waste it by putting it on myself when I'm not about to go burn it. I'm not about to go run a marathon right now, so I don't need a plate that's piled like the pyramids. Conscious mind living, right? We got to get into thinking with our cerebral cortex, analyzing, being meditative about the food. See, when we're in the subconscious mind and we're following through with the subconscious mind, then what happens? We have emotions around food. Have you ever eaten while you're just in a daze and didn't even realize you were eating? You're just like zoned out eating. That's subconscious living. We got to snap out of our subconscious mind. If you notice one day that you're just sleep eating, like zoned out and you're just eating something, stop. Like wake up. Just, what am I doing? Why do I have this bag of chips in my hands? Put it down, just eat one more, whatever, put it away, and then ask yourself, do a meditation, check in. Am I hungry? Or am I just like nervous, fidgety? What am I doing right now? And then address it. Actually, I'm actually hungry right now. Okay, I need to eat a meal. Or I'm not hungry right now. I'm just like nervous. I'm just doing this because I just have like energy. Okay, then I need to chill because there's no point. Why am I eating this bag of chips right now? Set it aside. If you are going to snack, everything in moderation, right? So you go in, grab what you can fit in your hand. Your stomach's only that big anyway. And then go take it to the other room, eat what's in your hand. And you give yourself that speed bump of having to get up and go get more, which allows you to stop and repause and meditate again. Do I actually need more? Or am I just habitually eating? Am I subconscious eating right now? If you want to stop emotional eating, pause and meditate. If you want to stop subconscious eating, pause and meditate. When it's 12 o'clock, don't eat because it's 12 o'clock. That's silly. It's silly. It's also very expensive. just eat what your body needs. So when it's 12 o'clock, if it's break time, just take a break and then meditate first and ask yourself, how do I feel? Think about your day, what you're going to need. Am I going to need more food in the system? How do I feel? What do I want? Yeah, I would like to eat right now. And it'd be good too, because I got this and this coming up. Okay, good. And then ask yourself, what do I want to eat? Instead of all the restrictions, ask your body, what do you want? Bring up different ideas in your mind, pictures of things, of foods. Allow your body to speak back to you about what it wants. Have a conversation, but you be the leader of the self. Like this. What do I want to eat right now? Ooh, a burger and fries. Okay. Well, nothing wrong with that. A burger and fries can be a part of a nutritious diet. But didn't I just have a burger yesterday? Yeah. Huh. Well, do I really want to eat that much beef? No variety? Nah, that's gross. All right. Well, let me go get a salad with salmon. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I could do that. Bam. Go. You make wiser decisions when you pause. How long did that take me? 30 seconds? Pause and have a conversation with the self, but lead the self. You have to be the leader. You are the conscious mind. The conscious mind needs to lead the subconscious mind. When we're in the subconscious mind, we're in the emotions, we're in the feeling, we're in the urges, we're in the dazes, we're in the trance, we're zoned out, we're in the anxiety, we're in the not stopping, we're in the no self-control. When we're in the subconscious mind, we're in the follow the dopamine. Oh my God, this just feels good. When we're in the subconscious mind, it's, oh, it tastes, oh my God. When we're in the subconscious mind, we're on a schedule. It's like, oh, it's 12 o'clock, must eat. I am a robot. When we're in the subconscious mind, right? We have hidden agendas. Like, oh, I'm mad at my husband for making a comment, so I'm going to eat in secret as like my rebellion. Or my mom tries to control me so much, so I'm going to eat when she's not watching because that makes me feel some sense of control. The hidden agenda is that subconscious eating. We need to stop eating according to the subconscious. We need to start driving ourselves according to the conscious mind. Is that making sense? What would it be like if you're in your conscious mind all the time? When you're in your conscious mind, you're aware. It means you're awake. It means you're paying attention. It means you're thinking, you're analyzing, you're meditating. So now you're eating for nutrition because you're thinking out what you're doing. Now you're meditating, you're listening to your body. You're connecting to yourself, getting what you really need, what you crave. You know, when you ask your body what it needs, it tells you the food it wants according to the actual vitamins and nutrients that it needs. The body is intuitive. It knows what it needs. Give your palate a variety to choose from. Try a lot of different foods. Variety, moderation. When we're in our conscious mind, we got moderation, we got variety. We're not in scarcity mentality. We're in abundance mentality. There's plenty of food available. It will always be available. I can have it whenever I want. With moderation, we may say 2 big meals a day is plenty for me. I'm not an athlete. I'm not out here pumping iron and burning and doing all this stuff. Analyze what you actually need. Do we need to be on top of counting every calorie? No. Educate yourself. Educate yourself of what foods are. Sure. But don't become excessively obsessive about all the little details, like you can mathematically structure out all this stuff, because you can't keep that up. You have to live in a way that you can sustain. 30 minutes a day needs to be dedicated to exercise, at least on average. If you're doing an hour every other day, that's fine. But you need an average of 30 minutes a day to exercise. You need to be burning the food that you're eating. Does that make sense? You need to burn the food you're eating. And you need to eat food so that you have something to run on. When we're in our conscious mind, we're not restricting. When we're in our conscious mind, we're not fearing. When we're in our conscious mind, We're not feeling like, oh, I can't control myself. If I have a few chips, I won't control myself. No, if you consciously think of what you're doing, you can have the chips. Have them in moderation. When you're in your conscious mind, you're employing EPIC, EPIC, ethical, powerful, intelligent, compassionate. When you apply those 4 principles to your food choices, you don't need to go off into disordered eating. You can just simply analyze every situation with ethics. What are ethics? Ethics are your morals, right? So your morals will tell you if you're being greedy, if you're being gluttonous, if you're overdoing it, right? So you got to check in with your ethics before you make food decisions while you're eating. Personal power. Personal power dictates that you are in control. You're not out of control when you eat. You can control it. Don't say to yourself, I can't control myself. If I have an Oreo, I just can't control myself. Don't say that. Just simply choose what you want to do and follow through with it. You have personal power, personal agency. Does that make sense? If you're in your intelligence, that's your personal wisdom. That's the ability to follow through on what you know to be right, to do what you believe in, what you know to be best. So be in your intelligence when you're making food decisions. And then check in with your compassion. What's compassion? Love. Do you have self-love when you're making your food decisions? Self-love says, hey, it'd be okay to have a little cheesecake. It's my favorite. Maybe every once in a while I can go ahead and splurge on this or eat a little of that because I enjoy it. That's self-compassion. Have compassion for yourself. Have compassion for others. When we're in our conscious mind, we remember to exercise because we care for our body. When we're in our conscious mind, we're not eating 3 meals just because someone told us that back when we were kids. Or feel like, oh, we have to eat bacon in the morning. Just be conscientious of what you're doing. Think about it. And be moderate in all things. When you're in your conscious mind, you eat slowly. You enjoy the food. Food is meant to be enjoyed, isn't it? So think about how you would eat. Just imagine it right now. If you were eating in your conscious mind. For instance, you may receive food or you might receive something and the plate is in front of you. If you're in your conscious mind, you're probably going to stop before you start eating and you're going to meditate right there, a meditation of gratitude for what's in front of you. Perhaps you would pray, give thanks. And then as you start to eat, you're gonna really savor the details of what you're eating, the notes, all of the different spices and ingredients that went into it. Savor it. When you eat slowly, it's better for your digestion, but it's also better for your enjoyment of life, of this moment, of what you have, of this blessing. Enjoy your food. Take your time. And more importantly, now you're able to check in with yourself as you're eating. What you'll notice is that your job is to eat to your satisfaction, not to finish what happens to be whatever the random portion is on your plate. It's not your job. Because remember, it'll be a waste if you just put it on yourself in the form of fat, but you're not planning to use it. That makes no sense. So as you're eating, you might notice when you get to about half your plate, you might notice that was sufficient. Like, I feel good. I feel satisfied. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to having more, but I feel full right now. I feel satisfied. So set aside the other half for later. Sometimes leftovers are better the next day. Put it in the refrigerator. Share it with someone else. Give it to someone on the street. There's literally people right outside the restaurant sitting down on the ground, hungry. Give it to someone else. It's not going to go to waste. It's a waste if you eat it when you don't need it. Let go of the diets, let go of the restricting of your food. Stop restricting yourself. The restricting causes a polarity that pulls you so that you end up snapping back and going into overeating. The main cause of overeating is restricting. If you stop restricting, then you're less likely to feel the need to overeat. Does that mean I can go and eat my favorite meal tomorrow? Yes, and you should. You really should. Just eat in moderation. Eat as much of it as you actually need, but enjoy it slowly as you do. Is this making sense so far? Can you see how this is sustainable? So what I'm giving you here are principles to live by. When you're acting and living in your conscious mind, it's sustainable. It's sustainable. And do you know, if you follow these principles, if you feel like you have some extra weight, you will lose the extra weight. It'll be slowly, but you will. You see, when you're not just eating based on time, but you're only keeping it to 1 to 2 meals, 2 big meals a day, maybe some moderate snacking. That's fine. But think about what you're doing. Like, why would I choose this snack over that? This one grows out of the ground. It's natural. This one grows in a Frito-Lay factory. So between the two, why wouldn't I choose this one? Think about it. Does it mean you can't eat something from a Frito-Lay factory? No, you can. It's fine. Eat whatever you want. Your body is designed to extract the nutrients from whatever you eat. It's just we need to be thinking things out and be moderate in our choices and our decisions. We can eat for pleasure occasionally. That's fine. It's okay to eat for pleasure. Just keep it in moderation. We're always eating for our nourishment. If you can't do it for the rest of your life, don't even start it. Only do things regarding your food, your exercise, your self-care that you can sustain long-term, so that we're not bouncing back. Oh, we lost the weight, but now we gained it all back. Oh, no. Your body will reflect your lifestyle. The reality is, if you pay attention to your body's urges, the body naturally seeks moderation. The body naturally seeks variety. The body naturally seeks balance. Even if I told you, go eat your favorite meal, go eat it every day, you know what would happen after 3, 4, 5 days of eating your favorite meal? You would get tired of it. Your body naturally seeks variety. So all of this restricting of your favorite, I can't eat spaghetti. I can't. It's my favorite. I can't eat it. You're just creating more anxiety around food. Just eat what you want to eat. And your body will say, you know what? I'm tired of spaghetti. Why do we keep eating this? And it will naturally seek variety. It will seek the variety. But be the leader of yourself. It's not always about only doing what your body tells you. Listen to it, but it is your assistant. You are the leader. So sometimes you have to tell the body, you know what? I think you could use some green beans. Or why don't you have a salad today? That's fine. That's fine. But be loving, just like a father to his daughter or to his son. Be loving like a mother to your child. And use those same principles in the way you care for yourself. So now let's discuss a little bit more openly about these things. Let's address beliefs, biases, and behaviors around food. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to volunteer to share some old, perhaps maladaptive beliefs that they may have had around food that might have been holding them back, or might have been sabotaging them, that they're kind of realizing? Any old beliefs that you might have had around food? Angie?
I shared this one with you before, coming from like a, competitor lifestyle. you restricted yourself so much to the point where once after you had your show, you had nothing to look forward to. There was no date anymore, so you could just eat freely. And I had the mindset afterwards, well, shoot, I just ate 2 cookies. Screw it. I'm just going to eat the whole bag of cookies. And I think somebody said to me that, okay, Angie, you got one flat tire. So what are you going to do? Are you going to change that tire or are you going to make the other 3 go flat? Right. And then you got no tires, you got no wheels. So now I don't have that mentality anymore. I'll just enjoy it, moderation. No problem. I have a cookie and I give myself grace and I enjoy it and I deserve it.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very relatable. And that's typically what happens. Yeah. Thank you. Any others notice any maladaptive beliefs? That they had around food? So let's look at bias. Oh, Huguette, did you have one?
Yes, I have a question. So you said that as far as eating wise to eat in moderation, and you said that it's better to just, it's better to eat twice a day. I sort of practice that, but for me, when I'm busy, I don't really think of eating. Like if I'm listening to my body, I won't eat at all. So the thing is that I don't know how to even work with that. Because sometimes if I'm working through the day, sometimes I don't even start eating until 12. And sometimes probably until 7 o'clock at night. And I still don't feel hungry, especially if I'm stressing. So how to handle that when if I'm listening to my body, I won't eat at all.
Mm-hmm. So when I say listen to the body, it means check in with the body. But it's very important that you don't allow the body to be the boss. So you have to be the boss. So if you're checking in with the impulses and you're really actually doing your meditation, and despite the mindfulness, the body doesn't seem to want the food, but many hours are passing by and you're realizing that it's not healthy to keep going without the food. This is where you, as the conscious mind, have to kick in and say, you know what, I think it would be good for me to have something, and go ahead and make yourself a nutritious meal and nourish your body.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even with sugar, that's also another thing I'm trying to stay away from. So exactly what you said, when you restrict yourself completely, and then I'll spend a whole day not eating sugar, but then the following day I'm eating cake, ice cream, everything I can find. And it makes it worse because it causes inflammation in my body. So that's also another thing I'm trying to control. So I'm going to try to do what you said as far as moderation, not telling myself I'm not going to have it at all, to see if that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, allow everything to be a decision in at that moment. So it's like, do I want to have iced tea today? Yeah, I know there's sugar. Weigh it out. Sit there, make people wait, make your decision of what's best for you, and then move forward with that. Okay, now it's dessert time. Do I want to have dessert today? You're keeping in mind that you have goals and things like that, but don't restrict yourself completely and say no sugar, because you know what happens the next day. Then you go crazy and you really hurt yourself. And you'll find that you do have the self-control to sometimes say no and actually eat less sugar as a result. But at the same time, it's a relief to know that you can have it. And so it's easier to say no, knowing that at any time you can have it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Sarah, did you have an example of a belief?
Yeah, I've struggled with anorexia and bulimia since I was 15, and it's been an on and off thing. And what I've noticed is it's a lot. It's got a lot to do with like the relationships that I'm in at the time. If I'm in a relationship and I'm not being treated well, it seems to kind of pick back up again. And then just with like therapy and everything, just realizing, because I won't even feel hungry when that's going on. So just like realizing what's going on and still eating. Like I was told to make smoothies maybe and drink smoothies if I'm not hungry, and then obviously eat actual meals also in there. But if I'm, if it's a really hard time for me and I really don't want to eat, then to do some healthy smoothies.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, appreciate that. How have you been doing with it lately?
Not great.
Yeah, what is it that holds you back from wanting to eat?
Um, Honestly, I think it's partially like hearing people say like, wow, you're really thin, like it's the having people worry about me that I want, and stuff like that.
Mhm, mhm. That's good. So, so this causes you to not want to eat, right?
Yeah.
So what I would encourage for you is do a little self-therapy. And you can even start it right now as we're talking. And you just start listing down all the benefits of not eating.
Yeah,
Does
that
that
was
make sense?
probably pretty short.
Uh, well, no, like let's do that right
Oh,
now. So
like in my head what the benefits would be.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Losing weight really fast.
Hmm.
um and whenever I'm doing that too, I always tend to drink more water, because if I do feel hungry, I'll just drink water to make my stomach full, which drinking a lot of water is good. I
Hmm.
mean, there is that, I guess, but pretty much just losing weight really fast.
Okay. Yeah. What does that show about you that you're the type of person who values losing weight?
Oh, that I've got a pretty twisted body image of myself.
What beautiful thing does it show about you?
That I know that.
No, there's got to be something good. There's something good about you that's revealed in your decisions, in your choices. There's something good about you that's revealed by the fact that you don't want to, or you want to be able to lose weight fast. What beautiful thing does that actually reveal about you?
I guess that if I'm determined to do something, that I'll do it.
Mm, self-determination. Do you think on a subconscious level it's very important for you to be a self-determined person?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's very important for you to be a self-determined person, right?
Hmm.
Beautiful. So, what do you think? Does it show more self-determination to have an eating problem, or does it show more self-determination to have no problems around eating and to be able to eat on a healthy schedule?
Oh, definitely to be eating healthy on a healthy schedule and exercising the right amount, not too much, and being able to stick with that. And yeah.
Beautiful. So, can you see how eating regularly, even if that means that you're not constantly losing weight, eating regularly actually is is more in line with who you truly are at the core.
Yeah, I could see that. I just have to like make myself believe that, I guess.
You don't believe that?
It's the whole losing weight really fast thing that just, I can't, I want it so bad. I don't want to do it in a healthy way. And I don't ever need to lose weight to begin with, but it's just, I don't know, like a scare tactic for me, for other people.
Because you want to scare them?
I guess.
Yeah. And it's a way that you get people to care about you or
Yeah.
show their care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember last time that I was really thin, my mom would call me like once a week and try to bring food to me, and just like having somebody like checking in with you felt really good.
Yeah. Do you think a person is easier to love when they're eating well, or do you think a person is easier to love when they're not eating well?
When they're eating well.
Yeah. So can you write these two things down?
Yeah.
The first thing is it shows more self-determination for me to eat regularly. It makes you look like you don't have self-determination if you're rapidly losing weight because you're not eating. Can you write that down?
Yeah. One second. And then what was the second one?
And then the other thing I want you to write down is it's it's easier to love someone that takes care of themselves.
Okay.
It's
Got
easier
it.
to love someone that you see the real way to get what you really want, as I'm revealing to you, is to take care of yourself. You get more love that way, and you prove your own self-determination.
Yeah.
But now, like you said, you have to convert your thinking. So now that you have it written down, take some time to meditate on these thoughts each day
Okay.
and go through and have a similar conversation like we've been having. And it will help to retrain your subconscious mind.
Okay. I like that.
And then let's check in on this in a week or so and see
Okay.
how we're doing. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for volunteering, because it's not just you who's going through that. It's a lot of us. A lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
Stephen, thanks for your patience, Stephen.
No problem. Yeah, for me, I just wanted to share that I kind of have a different situation, but I've always kind of struggled with finishing meals and like losing my appetite really easily. And I kind of what the last person just shared, I also got a recommendation to like mix smoothies that were higher calorie just to make sure like some days last year when I would go into work and I would just lose my appetite and not be able to have lunch, and it would just be a way to kind of get through the day. But I've honestly, like in the morning when I wake up, I may not feel like eating, but I've gotten into a habit of making sure like I get something down and I eat enough. Like I know my weight and everything, so that's kind of been what's like been consistent over the last few years. But like for me, it's just like anxiety related, like or like emotional, like just something in my environment or like someone's around, like it'll just change my emotional state and it will directly affect my eating. But mine isn't related to like worrying about gaining weight or anything like that, but it kind of has like similar symptoms to that. But yeah, it's just been something I worked through and found ways to work around.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Stephen. Dawn?
Yeah, the thing I sometimes struggle with is um, I guess, feeling okay to leave food on the plate just for the way I grew up. You know, if you didn't eat what was served to you or what you put on your plate, then you were just wasting food. And I've learned that, you know, if I go out to eat and order something, it's okay to put it in a to-go box and take it home and eat it later. Usually the struggle I have is if, you know, someone else gives me a plate of something, you know, like work kitchen or something like that, or if I just don't feel like eating anymore. I still struggle with, I feel like I need to eat all that, even if I'm not hungry anymore.
Yes, there's enormous social pressure, and then there's cultural pressure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you afraid of?
I guess when it's someone like at work that gives me like a plate of something for that, um, I guess being seen as rude if I say no, I don't want it.
Being seen as rude. That's the fear, right? Is there anything else that you're fearing?
Um, that seems to be the big one. It's, I mean, here at home, I mean, I know I can put it in the refrigerator and eat it later or take it into work the next day, but I think it's just so many years of, as a kid hearing whatever's on your plate in front of you, you need to eat it all.
Hmm. Let me ask you now. Let's say you got a big plate that was really more than what you need to be eating, or according to your decision, right?
Right.
And you're at work or whatever. What would be your ideal response if you weren't worried about, if you didn't have these fears? What would be your ideal response?
Hmm. Probably to say thank you, but I'm not hungry.
Is that honest in those situations?
Yeah, that would be honest to say that.
Yeah. So is that rude?
Not, no.
Okay.
I guess the feedback I get from the other person is that it's rude. I'm refusing a plate.
Hmm. Yeah. There's very strong cultural drives here. This is in,
Yeah.
it's even harder in some other countries when you are to refuse a plate. Yeah. But let's analyze this for just a moment, Don. Is there a way that you can give your ideal response and not be rude about it?
I'm sure there is, but I think the go-to reaction or feeling I have is that fear instead of, just being honest and saying, thank them for thinking of me, but I'm not hungry and I don't need it.
And I got you. But what's an
Yeah.
example? What's an example of a way that you could respond that would not be rude, but would still protect your health?
Well, I mean, I could accept it and, package it up and bring it home and eat it for another meal.
Very good. Yeah. So let me add to that, right?
Yeah.
So person at work gives you a plate. Here, I made this. I sweat for hours to make it, and you're one of the people I really wanted to try it. You feel all the pressure, right? You're just like, oh my God, and everybody's watching, and you don't want to eat it. And so you say, wow, thank you so much. This was unexpected, and it smells so good, and it looks so good. I actually can't wait to eat this, but I really want to enjoy it. And right at the moment, I'm not hungry. I'm going to tell you what, let me take this. I'm going to pack this up. I'm going to take this home with me. Can I take this? And I'm going to, when tonight, I'm going to enjoy this. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. Now, in the moment, that's not rude, but then look at how we can put the sugary sweetness on it later. We can write them a thank you note that night, bring it the next day, right? And really make a big fuss about how amazing they were for what they did. And that would probably make them feel good, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Yeah. And then it would cover over any idea that you were actually being rude. because you're coming with a thank you note. Nobody else came with a thank you note. Right. And now you're coming back and you can even rave and make a big fuss and say, hey, did you try so-and-so spaghetti? It was so good. I had it last night, such and such, and you could really build them up. But you can also do it in a way where you didn't compromise yourself. And that's why it's so important that we balance, because they got us in a situation where we don't want to hurt them, but we don't want to hurt ourselves. And so this conscious mind way of thinking is like, I got to find a strategy. And what we just came up with together, Dawn, was a strategy where you can say, you know what, I can't do this to myself, but I am so grateful for what you've done. I love you so much for this. Thank you. And you can put on all the sugar sweetness, and you can make sure you pad their ego and you protect them and you don't hurt them. At the same time, you don't hurt yourself.
I think that's doable.
All right. So that's our plan. Okay. Let me know how it works.
All right.
Prosperity.
Well, all right, I got a new microphone from last time. Is this okay? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. I just added in the comments one thing to what you just said too, is that I think some of the grandmas or the moms or whoever's cooking, they are looking for a certain feeling themselves, right? That they are showing love through the food, or that they are very generous, or they're very prosperous, right? Because they have food to give you, an abundance of food. They're successful in life or whatever. So sometimes I try to figure out what feeling that they're looking for, and I can directly comment on that as well. I can say, you are indeed, you're so generous. You're always trying to give me food. You are the most generous person. You're so hospitable. I come to your house and you have all this abundance. And if that's really what they're looking for, then you can still give them those feelings directly, which to me seems like it would be more enjoyable to receive exactly what I was looking for, right? That person recognizes me. I don't have to like force feed them to get them to love me, because I love you regardless of the food, and I think you're successful or whatever it is. So anyway, just something I thought of. And I've grown up with a lot of food allergies. So like a lot of food allergies and sensitivities. And so the whole story of my entire childhood was going to people's houses, and I could not eat the food, but they wanted to give me the food. And I said, no, I can't eat gluten. I can't eat bread. I can't eat milk. I can't eat that. And I had to learn how to do that because people would be insulted by it. And I never quite understood that. I'm not going to harm myself because you need love through your food generosity. So people will, you have to take care of yourself. Your health is of utmost importance. And if the people just can't possibly, if the host just can't possibly accept the fact that you might decline food sometimes, then I just found I just couldn't go to some people's houses. I wouldn't put myself in that position where it was going to be awkward. Or I'd tell them ahead of time. I said, look, I have these food sensitivities. I'll come over, but I don't want to offend you, or I'll bring my own food, or we can share food, or, we'd work it out ahead of time. So it would never be awkward in the moment. I wouldn't hurt their feelings in front of the family or any of that type of stuff. That worked out. One other thing a trick that I figured out that has helped me, if I want to appropriately enjoy my meal, I sit and I look at the food and I be grateful for my food, and I hold the food in my mouth as long as I can, and I get the full flavor, right? I get saturated with the flavor. I enjoy the food. So even if it's junk food, like you were talking about craving the burger or something like that, if the craving is so strong that I say, well, you know what? Whatever emotional reason, or maybe my body needs some weird nutrient in here, or whatever it is, I'm craving this so hard and it's driving me nuts, I'm going to eat it. Then I just make sure I fully appreciate it, enjoy it. I enjoy every second of it. I enjoy too many seconds of it, to the point where sometimes I don't even want to finish it, right? If it's a chocolate bar, man, just hold a bite of chocolate in your mouth for like a minute, a whole minute per bite. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think I'm good with the chocolate. I think I'm done with this. I don't even want to finish this bar. It's so rich, whatever. Versus if I was watching YouTube, or I'm watching TV, or I'm doing something unconsciously, all of a sudden I find the whole chocolate bar is gone. and I didn't even enjoy any of it. I'm like, you fool, you wasted the treat. You could have had so much pleasure from that. But I had to turn off all the distractions, and even the icing on the cake, pun intended, is sometimes just close my eyes, because right then when you're not getting sounds and you're not getting visual, all of a sudden your taste gets heightened, and all of a sudden I'm getting like 5 times the flavor out of the same bite, and I'm really appreciating it. And what that meant then is the junk food lasted a lot longer, and the healthy food, I don't know, it seemed like my body understood what we were doing, right? Like I'm in teamwork with my body. I said, all right, body, I'm going to give you some really good food here. And maybe, for whatever reason, I know you want the chocolate cake, but I'm going to give you some good food right now. But when I was conscious with it, it just seemed like my body accepted it more and said, oh, thank you for the nutrients. I'm going to fix things. I'm going to heal things. I'm going to repair things. I'm going to do it the right way. So it was like a teamwork with the body, right? So
Yeah.
I have many decades of problems, not as many as some of the people in here. You guys are amazing with what you're going through. Much respect. But that trick for me helped. What was a big game changer for me. Just stopping the distractions and really focusing on the food itself, good or bad. So
That's the right idea. Yeah, that's the right idea. Enjoy it. I like how you enjoy it. That's really important.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that. So what about bias? Do we have any biases? So what bias is our way of approaching things and our way of thinking about things. So is there anyone here who notices that they do tend to have subconscious eating instead of eating in your conscious mind? Is anyone who's noticed that they do tend to eat subconsciously?
Yeah, hey Roman. Yeah, I got a problem eating from the subconscious mind a little bit, not being able to pull out of it.
Yeah.
But I also, it goes where I have like whole days where I just keep going out into the ether and I keep trying to pull back. So while I am eating, I continue to do it, but I've kind of been doing it the whole day, just phasing right out.
Yeah. And that's the thing about zoning out. Like we can dissociate for a long time as trauma survivors. And when we're in a dissociated state, then our eating is going to be kind of out of control. So we got to snap back in when we notice that we're standing in the kitchen with our hand in a bag of chips. Or for me, I'll just be standing in front of the refrigerator with the refrigerator door open, and I'll snap back in like, why am I in front of the refrigerator? Like, what's happening? And then got to go through the conversation like, am I actually hungry right now? Do I need to make a meal? Like, what's going on? Like, or am I just doing this because I just want to feels or feel good or something? So talking to yourself, understanding, and then snapping back. And we got to keep snapping out of subconscious acting and thinking. We got to keep bringing ourselves back to reality. But the more we awaken the conscious mind, the more conscientious we are, the more conscious we are, and we actually live our life at a higher level of consciousness, which means everything improves. Your decisions improve, your thoughts improve, your spirituality improves, your health improves, everything improves, and your eating will improve as well when you're elevating your life by living in the conscious mind. Good participation, everyone. I appreciate your comments. So finally, we have the behavior. The behavior needs to actually change, right? So we've addressed beliefs, we've addressed bias. What about the behavior? So the big thing with behavior is that we need to have self-control. Self-control. Or in other languages, they use terms that basically mean auto-domination. Like you have to automatically dominate the self. Auto-domination. So how do we have self-control? How can we have self-control instead of being out of control when we start eating that bag of Ruffles or something that's especially stimulating for us? How can we have self-control?
The second that you become mentally aware that I'm doing this, I'm gorging, I'm doing this, you've got like a 7-second window or less where you just got to put it down and walk away. You got to snap out of it right then. If you waffle, then you probably stay in there longer. Like if you don't do it in that, like if you just snap and walk away, you can break out of it usually for me.
Exactly. You're exactly right. You got that little window where you wake up for a moment. You're like, what am I doing? I'm overdoing it. And then that's your moment to fold the bag up, put it away, figure out if you need something nutritious or if you just need to busy yourself with something else altogether. And what you'll find is the more that you practice self-control, the more you have self-control. Everyone has the ability to control the self. Your body is controllable. Like you decide when you lift your arms. So this action here, putting your mouth, just your hand to your mouth, this action is a conscious, controllable action. And your subconscious will take it over if you're not paying attention. So wake up. Wake up. As Natasha said, pausing and meditating will help. So pausing before you eat, eating slowly, savoring the food, checking in throughout the meal. How am I feeling? Am I full yet? Not according to how much is on my plate. How do I feel? Am I full right now? As once you're full, take your food and save it for later. We have all kinds of newfangled devices like refrigerators and freezers that can hold your food. A freezer can keep your food good for like months. I mean, this is fantastic. They never used to have something that could preserve your food for months. Yeah, we have that. And everybody's got these things at their house, just about everybody, at least here in the States. So use them. Use the freezers, use the fridges, share your food. Don't feel the need to just, oh, I have to keep going. No, you don't. You can control yourself. So I thank everybody for their participation in that.